Welcome back to Slammed, and welcome to the Jam. Did I make that joke already? I don't remember if I did, but if I did, it's fine, because it's wrestling, where the same thing is said repeatedly week after week, after week, after week, after week. So, that's probably fine. We're starting Chapter 7. The blind tag. Remember, we're going to be tagging with our old friend / enemy in the Gua. Now, of course, as we get going, we are going to need some music, which can go, sometimes goes all right, sometimes goes not so all right. Let's see what we have to start with. All right, some dramatic Blue Stinger music. Let's get going with the story. Best and Worst of Wednesday Night Wrestling 643 by Bleacher Watcher 619. The GWA was at the Orleans Dome for the second time this year, the go-home show for their all-tag team pay-per-view, United Front. But while there were some good showcase matches between the competing teams for the tournament, particularly the Dioscuri versus Muscle Fist draw, that Muscle Fist is a very good name. The show will be remembered for the finale for the GWA's reality developmental show, Near Fall Academy. Trust the Gua to end a reality show with a swerve. Of course, the two big questions now are whether the entire season was actually scripted, and if not, who amongst the finalists is getting put in the main roster. As to the first, my sources tell me that everything up to the finals was in fact authentic. That's not to say that the odds weren't stacked in favor of one of the other contestants, but your votes did matter, and that should be obvious from the fact that Evelyn friggin' Ecstasy went so far. But we did not go far with her, it turns out. As for who won, my sources tell me that the attack from the Plague of Angels, kudos for whoever thought of hiding them inside the giant Gua logo, by the way, was nothing but a smart way for the Gua brass to gain some flexibility, because they intend to bring all the finalists into the Gua, albeit not at the same time. This shouldn't surprise anyone. For one thing, Zeus Carino was a personal project of Paul Prototype, and as I've been telling you guys, there's no way he wouldn't be signed even if he didn't win. But with the fans actually getting behind the supreme package for once in this feud with Angel Michael, he doesn't want to bring in Zeus too soon, since they're planning a big debut for the Filipino that may steal Prototype's thunder. And we all know how much he hates that, right? I've got less information about Kale King. He's got the moves, but he's a bit too low-key to make an impact, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're sitting on him for a few months while they try to come up with a gimmick for him. The word I'm getting, though, is that you can expect to be seeing Cunoesse Miss Shadow Cunoesse sooner rather than later, as there are plans for putting her into the tag team division with rising star JJ Havoc, which should be interesting on a lot of levels. Amateur wrestling aficionados, yes, pro isn't the only kind, may recall that those two are former teammates that were involved in that infamous Division 1 snafu a while back. Of course, when Cunoesse debuts, don't expect her to be the same character who feuded with Dame Sagramore. Uh-oh. What's our character going to be? I need to change my name? The overweight young man in front of you seems to wilt under your glare. I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought this would all been discussed with you. What's wrong with Cunoesse? The fact that the Global Wrestling Alliance doesn't own it? The young man raises his hands. It's nothing personal, ma'am. Just standard procedure. No one wrestles under their old name once signed. Not even their real name. You rub your temples with your fingers. You're backstage at the Reliant Arena in Indianapolis, waiting for your first official appearance on Wednesday Night Wrestling. Oh, we're backstage at the show and they're changing our gimmick now? Seems like last minute. The plan is for JJ to go out first to confront the two members of the Plague of Angels faction that ambushed me last week. The same tag team that went on to win the Gua Women's Tag Team Championships during last Sunday's United We Stand pay-per-view. They'll react badly to JJ's challenge and work her over for a bit before we come down to make a save, forming the Gua's newest tag team in the process. And now, 15 minutes before we're set to go out on live television, they're telling me that I don't have a name. You have a sudden flashback to my first borderless wrestling event. This is infinitely worse. Oh no, says a young man, a member of the production crew. when you voice these misgivings. You don't need to come up with one out of thin air. You just need to choose one of these pre-approved ones. They've been screened by our focus groups, and all the options were deemed to be a good match to the name JJ Havoc. He hands us a piece of paper, and we quickly scroll through the list before making our choice. Well, we get to keep Shadow, but they want to change our last name. Well, hold on. I guess I should leave this one to the chat. First, I'm going to have to bring up the voting window. Let's just get this here. And there we go. We have started a vote. So, 1 for Shadow Vandal, 2 for Shadow Ravage, 3 for Shadow Chaos, which is going to be our new name. Unfortunately, we can't come up with our own name, which clearly would have been Raphael Cousteau, in reference to a strange detective we used to know. But it's not an option here. Seems pretty clear that number 3 is going to win. So, we'll end the vote and go with Shadow Chaos. Shadow Chaos, huh? So that would... Shadow Chaos, huh? So that would make us Havoc and Chaos. I like it. You turn to see JJ making her way across the backstage foyer towards you. In many ways, JJ still looks like the girl we used to wrestle with in college, and yet not like that girl. She isn't different precisely. It's more like she's evolved closer to her true self. She's now... She's well, she used to be... I mean, okay, I was about to try to make some sort of Pokemon joke. She's now JJ, but now she's... But, I mean, I honestly don't know enough about Pokemon to try to come up with a evolved name for her. So we'll just forget about that. She always had a body that managed to be both attractive and athletic. And you know that her posters probably adorn the bedroom walls of many love-struck fans. She wears her hair long now, in a feminine cut that is immaculately styled, but she still has what many jealous girlfriends once called man hands. Oversized and calloused, capable of crushing walnuts, or the nuts of 2 frisky males. Don't be frisky around JJ. She's got the nut-crushing hands. JJ weaves her way through the crowded backstage area with a fluid grace, exchanging pleasantries here and there. It's obvious she's popular backstage. Figures. Why should the Gua locker room be any different from the college dorms? JJ simply has a way with people. It's one of the reasons why, back when we were school together, we got along so well, I was always in her shadow. 2 of us made such an odd pair. Well, clearly, we have to choose number 2 because, like, that's probably the origin of our shadow name, because we were in her shadow. It all comes around. It's like poetry. JJ was the one who made the waves, the more obvious leader in any situation. You won't lie and say you never resented that, but that simply drove you to match your friend or exceed her. George, JJ says to the young man as she reaches you, I'll take it from here. Then she offers her hand to you. Partner, she says with a grin. Well, we seem a little bit ambivalent towards JJ's presence. We'll just shake her hand. Sorry, had to do some local press, JJ says, putting her hands in the pockets of the vest she wears over her ring gear. If I had known that they hadn't let you choose a new name yet, well, I suppose it also means you haven't chosen a new finishing move, right? Oh, come on, you say. It comes with the rebranding, JJ shrugs and gives you a teasing grin. Of course, if it were me, I'd let you keep using your old finisher. After all, you named it after women you idolize, am I right? Before you can reply to that, a frantic assistant shouts, 2 minutes, Miss Delgado! Whoops, JJ says, and shrugs out of the vest, handing it to George. Look, you don't have to decide on a new finisher right now. But if you do, you can use it tonight. We could always go with a move we're familiar with. Several options immediately come to mind, but we go with, side slam, flying elbow drop, ankle lock. Well, if we look at the stats, we always like being flashy. So I would say like a flying elbow drop off the top rope. This is probably the flashiest of what we have here. The classic elbow from the top turnbuckle is a relatively common move, but enough named wrestlers have used it as a finisher in the past that it's still credible as a way to finish an opponent off, if done with enough style. Well, I'll leave it to you then. JJ punches you in the arm. Don't be too late saving my butt. As JJ heads towards the curtain, before you can even think about it, your hand shoots out and grabs her wrist. Got something to say? Got something to say? You both should. After that accident. ... After JJ missed her chance to face you for the Division 1 championship, then disappeared off the face of the planet for all intents and purposes. Now she's just acting like nothing happened. Like your college juniors again? Surely there's something to be said. And if she wants to start the conversation, maybe you should. JJ raises her eyebrows, still waiting for an answer. Let's talk about that. Clearly it's bothering us. Oh, we'll have plenty of time for that later, JJ says in a breezy tone. But not if we screw up in our debut match. Well, it's not really a match, or at least not for you. I'll challenge the new champs to a match, a handicap one, obviously. Just come to the ring while I'm getting the snot beat out of me. Force should tell you be at the earpiece when it's time. Then hit the Angels with a couple of flashy moves. Once you get them off me, I'll sell for a bit, then join in the fun when they try to gang up on you. We'll send them out of the ring, they'll back off, and I'll announce that we'll be coming for them as a tag team. Simple, right? It is simple. This isn't really what you wanted to talk about. Before you can say anything else, though, the beginning hook that JJ's theme plays, a wolf's howl. Oh! That's my cue. JJ shakes off her grip, then throws you a salute. See you on the other side, partner. You watch her go through the curtain, where she's greeted by a barrage of applause and raucous cheers. Havoc! Havoc! You stare at her retreating back as the curtain flaps back down. Well, whatever gets me on TV, we do what we have to. Alright, now back to Bleacher Watcher 619's report. Episode 644 is in the books, and I think we can all agree that the MVP award for the night goes to the good folk of Indianapolis. That's the hottest crowd I've seen since New York tore the roof off for the Gunter Frost / Sharon Pettipartari no DQ match 2 years ago. Of course, a close second goes to the newly minted tag team of JJ Havoc and Shadow Chaos, being referred to on the GWA site as Havoc and Chaos, Natch, who seem to have their sights set on the new Women's Tag Team Championships. Not that they don't have a reason to. If you'll recall, the week before the Bloody Angels defeated the Derby Rollers at United Front, they took part in the Plague of Angels initiated melee during the Near Fall Academy finale, and were personally responsible for Chaos's first official GWA beatdown. Of course, last night, we saw Chaos give them a taste of their own medicine when she cleaned house after Angel Rafaela and Angel Sealtail went too far during the handicap match with Havoc. In the process, we also got a taste of Chaos's new finisher, a flashy new elbow drop that reminds me of, who else? Flashin' Frank Garfield. An article on Chaos on the GWA site is calling it the Chaos Drop. The article also played up the storyline that the Angels attack robbed Chaos of the opportunity to be declared the Near Fall Academy winner. But why the GWA couldn't just do that anyway is an example of vintage GWA logic. What the article doesn't mention is what really makes this team up interesting, namely, what could be legit friction between Havoc and Chaos. For what it's worth, they do seem to have chemistry together. Let's hope that they've actually put aside their differences, because Chaos could use a friend backstage, from what I'm hearing. My sources tell me that there are a lot of members of the roster who are very unhappy with Chaos's sudden ascension. On the one hand, give the kid a chance to prove herself. On the other hand, while Chaos was wrestling on the independent circuit before being recruited to the NFA, 2 years hardly a veteran makes. And then, after less than half a year, she's in the running for the tag belt. It's not hard to see where the complaints are coming from. Time for a GWA house show in Reading, Pennsylvania. You lean your head against the wall, trying not to breathe in too deeply the stench of sweat and grime that has permeated the women's locker room in the Old Wells Civic Center. As house shows go, it's not a big venue, but even as you think that, you smile. You'd be able to fit any two venues from your independent days inside the center, with room to spare. This is the third house show, non-televised event, that you've rested at since your Cunoesse debut. Each time, you faced independent wrestlers, quite a few of whom you've worked with in the past. You're glad that you haven't been facing any established quad tag teams during this stretch. To a woman, the local wrestlers have all been friendly and polite, at least to your face. By contrast, most of your fellow Gua wrestlers, ... You hear the patter of wet feet, tap, 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 and look up to see JJ enter, wrapped in a towel and still dripping from the shower. Are you getting used to being a face yet? You consider the question. Aside from the sheer size of the crowds, the fact that they're now cheering you instead of, well, throwing things at you, been the biggest change, performance-wise. Well, to be honest, they're largely cheering JJ at this point, but now that you're a tag team, you and JJ are seen as one unit, for better or worse. I mean, it feels good to be cheered, so yeah, I guess we could get used to it. JJ laughs. I thought you might like it. JJ starts getting dressed in civilian clothing, as wrestlers are not civilians. A few of the other Gua wrestlers shout a goodbye to her as they leave the locker room. You are rather pointedly ignored. JJ takes a look at you and shakes her head. I'm sorry about that. I vouched for you to them, and I've heard that Madison Rio has taken a few of them aside and given them a talking to, but I don't really think it's an objective thing. There's a lot of resentment, a lot of envy. You stare at the backs of the retreating wrestlers, laughing amongst themselves. I don't need their approval. I didn't say you did, said JJ, but you'd have to admit it'd make things easier. Sure, and I became a professional wrestler because I wanted to take the easy road. That gets a snort of laughter from JJ. That snort didn't work out too well. Still so stubborn, Shadow. Yeah, that's me. Miss Stubborn. That was the first wrestling name I had in mind, actually. Well, maybe this'll cheer you up, says JJ, as she throws on a jacket, then checks her watch. I know that I haven't been able to travel with you, but with all the media events that the bosses are having me attend, but I know you're having a tough time getting rides from show to show, so I fixed that for you. You got me a car? You put your hand to your chest, mocked move. JJ, you shouldn't have. I know, so I didn't. Instead, I called in an old friend of yours. She should be waiting for you outside. JJ winks at you, then shoulders her tote bag. See you on Wednesday, partner. You discover what JJ meant the moment you step outside into the lobby of the Civic Center and find yourself immediately crushed by a bear hug. Shadow! Oh man, it's good to see you! Gianna! You half laugh, half wheeze. Put me down, you bear woman. Once she's done that, she explains, JJ told me that you could use a car and some company on the road, and I was only too glad to help. Hold on a moment, you say. It's not that I don't appreciate the thought, but you're dropping everything so you can be my driver? What about your job? Your family? Oh, you don't have to worry about that. Gianna shrugs. I was just working for a family friend anyway, and, well, I actually served them my notice a few days after we last saw each other. Gianna scratches her cheek. Seeing you and Dane Sacramore go at it, man, he lit something in me, I think. So I started getting back into shape again. And as for my family, what do you think? Of course you're thrilled to see me doing anything related to wrestling. Gianna smiles. Even Aunt Tempura, who isn't your biggest fan, Eve said hanging out with you would do us both some good. Before you've really had the chance to absorb all that, Gianna heads out to the main door and into the parking lot. Come on, she calls out. The car's this way. We've got some time to kill, so I thought we'd pass the spot where Crusher Asbury threw my lungle into Lake Erie. Plus Gianna chattering away happily. It's good to see our old friend. We're happy to see her. One thing that you can't help but wonder about, though, if JJ knew that Gianna was here, why hadn't she waited? Last time the three of you had been together was years ago when... ... Huh. Maybe that was why. But if JJ could seemingly bury the hatchet with you and she was still speaking with Gianna, then why the distance? Wednesday Night Wrestling, episode 645, LeBar Center, Dothan, Alabama. You bite back a curse as you feel your stomach stretched out across the knee of Lydia Prudius, the Olympic weightlifter turned wrestler from out of the Ukraine, the massive Ukrainian and the boxer Felicia Haymaker. That's a very convenient last name for a boxer. Make up the tag team Muscle Fist. Their team would be a consistent contender for the championship if they didn't spend most of their matches trying to one-up each other. This is my win, says Prudius in the heavenly heavenly accented yet slightly too high-pitched voice. This is my win. Look, I disposal trash, hey man. I think that's heavily accented yet slightly too high-pitched. You moron, says Haymaker, standing across the ring from you. I tagged in, remember? I'm the legal woman. You need to send her over to me so I can finish it. While they argue, the ref is trying to hold JJ back from interfering, in the process allowing the official to keep his back turned to the double team. The crowd, meanwhile, is buzzing, recognizing this as the setup for the Muscle Fist joint finisher. So, I'll throw you, and you dodge and counter, whispers Prudius in your ear in completely unaccented English. Oh, there's no accent, okay. Unless you've got something flashier in mind, superstar. You narrow your eyes at the dig, but you're prepared for it. Why should these two be different from the others in the back? Right now, you need to decide how you'll turn the tide in your favor. Well, we only have one option. Counter Haymaker's knockout punch. We cannot do a submission hold. We cannot Irish whip Prudius. All right, we'll counter the punch. Let's go with that, you say, and Prudius grunts. Then elbows you in the head none too gently, before releasing you from the abdominal stretch. You act woozy, and Prudius grabs one of your arms with both of her. Both Prudiuses grab your arms, then whips you towards Haymaker, with all of her considerable strength. You see Haymaker pull back her right hand, and, counting quietly to yourself, you time it so that you tip your head just far enough to the right so that her fist barely grazes her cheek, while you both use the forward momentum and that of her punch to hit the boxer with a counter that knocks her down at the mat as the crowd roars its approval. You drop down to one knee as well, still selling the extended beating that you took from the two heels throughout the latter half of the match. At your corner, JJ has her arm extended, asking for the tag that will allow her to come in, hit Haymaker with a finisher, and get the submission, all according to plan. Make the tag or finish Haymaker on our own. Well, I mean, we're in the big time now. I don't know if going into business for ourselves, maybe that works on the indies. But we're here in the big time. It's not really how things go. So maybe we should just go ahead and make the tag. After a long moment of indecision, you decide to go with the original plan. In the Bwiff, you were the star. In your Fall Academy, everyone was expected to do everything they could to stand out. But now, you're just a role player. One of many. And you can't shake the feeling that all you're doing is acting as JJ's friend in distress. Hey, some people made quite a successful career for themselves acting as friend in distress. Maybe that's just how someone's career turns out. You hate it. But if you change the plan now, there's no telling how that would affect your standing in the back. You may even get fired. So you self-fatigue as you gradually make your way over the JJ, your hand outstretched, your fingers almost touching, and when you finally slap hands, the cheers of the crowd are immediate, and JJ leaps into the ring, all fired up. Haymaker stands and assumes a defensive posture as JJ charges, but the Dubois' rising star ducks under a wild punch and lifts the boxer up and across her shoulders with apparent ease. Grinning at the crowd, JJ hooks her arm around Haymaker's neck and another over the boxer's thighs, then appears to bounce the over 200-pound boxer on her shoulders like a rag doll, applying vicious jolts of pressure to both upper and lower body. JJ calls it the Dogs of War, but the move is more famously known as the Torture Rack, which of course was Lex Luger's finisher, and kind of infamously one of the fakest looking wrestling moves. It was always kind of strange that was a finish. I don't know. I don't know if anyone actually bought that as a finisher, but it's what he used. For obvious reasons. Haymaker taps out desperately, and JJ drops her unceremoniously onto the floor. You enter the ring, and the referee raises your arms in JJ's. The winners of this match, via submission, Havoc and Chaos. JJ gives the crowd a smile, then whispers without looking at you, I'd like a word with you. Later. When you and Havoc pass through the curtain, she motions you to a corner of the foyer, out of the way of the backstage hustle and bustle. Good match, she says, but I sensed a bit of hesitation out there before the last tag. Had you been that obvious? Listen, I'm not judging you, said JJ. I want to be sure that we're all on the same page moving forward. You, me, our opponents, the boys in the back. Just tell me if you want to be the one who gets the win in our matches, and I'll make it happen. Well, that's quite a... Whoops, that's quite a... Make that a little quieter. It's quite a generous offer from JJ. I mean, I don't think we should turn that down if she's serious. Sure, let me finish the matches. We can do that. JJ gives you a wry smile. Ask and you shall receive, partner. Consider it done. Just then, Muscle Fist comes through the curtain. Let me talk to these guys and make sure there are no ruffled feathers. I'll see you at the house show on Friday, okay? Hey, wait up, you begin. But JJ is already calling out to Haymaker and Prudius. You sigh. You were going to, well, we could ask her why she never waited for Gianna to arrive. Tell her we don't care about ruffled feathers. Well, I want to know why she didn't wait for Gianna to arrive. Is it because of that day? Shadow, you hear Gianna call out. Ready to go? Well, it would be too awkward to insert yourself into JJ's conversation now. Just, let me change, he tells Gianna as you head to the locker room. You wonder if the three of you will ever get a chance to sit down and talk. Best and worst of Wednesday Night Wrestling. Back to Bleacher Watcher 619. The Gua roared into Nashville, Tennessee tonight, carried on the wings of the first feud in ages to make Paul Prototype seem relevant again. I have to wonder how much is that due to Angel Michael being an awesome heel, and how much of that has to do with the mysterious logo that's been popping up in the background of backstage segments. Does the skull and scales of justice motif ring a bell with anyone? Of course, the other storyline that's been getting major traction is the struggle for the #1 contendership of the tag team division. Winua started off with Angel Sealteal defeating Jenny Jammer in a singles match, which allowed the Bloody Angels to get out of the rematch with the Derby Rollers that she had previously agreed upon. That left the #1 contender spot wide open, as Havoc and Chaos continued to steamroll through the tag team division with an impressive victory over the Dioscuri. Faced with the uncanny teamwork of Clem and Helen, seriously, sometimes they make me really believe that twins have telepathy. Their new tag team responded with an odd, lopsided strategy, with Havoc starting the match but not seeing very much time in the ring. Once Chaos entered, she stayed the legal woman until the finish, which saw Chaos dodging the twin kicks in such a way that made the twins kick each other. Then, Chaos finished Helen off with the Chaos Drop. Makes you wonder if the Gua has had second thoughts about Havoc's push, or if there really is some truth to the rumors that Chaos just doesn't know how to play nice with the girls in the back. The segment ended with Havoc and Chaos challenging the tag team champs to defend their belt at the Wild Hunt pay-per-view in 11 days. I'm not sure that'll go over well with the Derby Rollers, though. Okay, well, we're getting the win, but maybe it was a mistake to agree to that, because now they're saying maybe we just can't get along well with the girls in the back. Back to Wednesday Night Wrestling at the Fleet Sports Arena, Lowell, Massachusetts. Shadow, you okay? You shake yourself and try to focus on Gianna. The two of you are sitting at the table in the craft service area, 20 minutes before you head out for a segment on Bunua, and you're struggling to keep your eyes open. Here, Gianna says, handing you a cup of coffee. It'll get you through the next hour at least. Thanks, you say, and take a sip. You make a face and set it down. This is the worst coffee I ever tasted in my life. I know, I urinated in it. I thought it would wake you up. She nudges the cup closer to you. I'll see if they have anything else. But in the meantime, you should finish that. You look like you came just from a straight 9-hour drive. Oh, wait, you did. Ha ha, you reply, your tone dry, and flick a packet of sugar at her. It's not just a 9-hour drive to get to Massachusetts from your last house show. It's accumulation of all those other 9-hour drives and 20-minute matches, antiseptic hotel rooms, and cramped autograph signings all put together. You're sure you'll get used to it eventually, but these past few weeks have been intense, even with Gianna helping with the driving. As you watch Gianna talk to a woman manning the drinks table, you're struck again by what a big help your old friend has been. Not just in the practical sense, but with your morale. With the exception of a few kind-hearted veterans like El Ala and the Derby Rollers, the other wrestlers you've met have been aloof at best and hostile at worst. Some days, Gianna's was the only friendly face you'd see all day. Yeah, the grind of being on the road is already taking its toll on Cunoesse. Do we wish that she wasn't so solicitous? Do we not know why JJ are avoiding each other? Well, we want to know about this. Why are Gianna and JJ avoiding each other? Excuse me! You hear a voice from behind you and turn your head to see a positively emaciated old man in a wheelchair wearing strange sunglasses, wearing an off-white lab coat looking down at you. He's holding a plastic cup in one hand and a roll of tape and a marker in the other. You're Mrs. Shadow Cunoesse, correct? It's been a while since you heard your full real name, so it takes you a second to respond. Yeah, that's me, and you are? Dr. Lawler, he says. In charge of random substance testing here at the GWA. He shook his little plastic cup. Oh, I've got a match in 15 minutes, so if I can find you once, 15 minutes, an hour, it's not gonna be enough to cover up the signs of use, my girl. You stand up. Are you accusing me of... Oh, no, not at all. Unless you refuse to take the test, of course. Dr. Lawler gives you a sleepy nod. Which I'm sure you know you're contractually bound to undertake. Anytime, anywhere, I believe was the exact wording. Fine, we'll just do it right here in front of everyone. We'll take the test quickly. You'll end up wasting more time arguing with his daffy doctor than you would from simply taking the test. Well, doctor knows best, I suppose, you say, grabbing the plastic cup from his hands with a bit more force than strictly necessary. Hey, what was that all about? Asks Gianna as you storm by her. Urine sample, you say, grabbing one of the 2 cans of cola from her before heading to the bathroom. With less than 10 minutes before your segment, you come out and push the now full plastic cup into the doctor's hands. See, nothing to it, says Dr. Lawler. Our improved system means that I'll have the results ready for you within the hour. You simply wave the doctor off as you jog towards the entrance ramp, wiping your hands on a disposable moist towelette. You see JJ already standing near the curtains, talking earnestly with your important opponents for the evening. You feel the adrenaline begin to pump through you, as well as the steroids. You're about to get in the ring with the Derby Rollers, probably the best tag team in the business right now, male or female. Jenny Jammer and Sasha Stripe both remember you from the team challenge at the Academy, and they've been warm and welcoming, in stark contrast with most of the other wrestlers. We're hoping that you'd be signed. You've got a lot of potential. Looking forward to working with you. That's how your conversation went the first time you ran into them backstage. Honestly, the pair of them seem more like twins than a Dioscuri. Sorry I'm late, you say. Had a run-in with Dr. Lawler. The three others make sympathetic groans. I swear. That guy is more witch hunter than doctor sometimes, JJ says. Anyway, he didn't miss much. There's no major changes to the plan. They go on first, and had a rematch with the Angels, then we march on down and have a promo exchange. Who deserves the title shot more? Yada yada. You nod. It's uncommon, but not unheard of, for two sets of good guys to be at odds, and it's usually when the title is at stake. The plan is that after each team has a chance to speak, the tag champs will appear on the Jumbotron and say they'll only fight the winner of a tables match. You'll win the match and go on to compete for the Women's Tag Team Championship at The Wild Hunt pay-per-view on Sunday. JJ turns to you. All we need to decide now is who speaks for our side. Dundee says we only have time for one. Do you want to? Or shall I? Me? You ask? I thought the writers made a script for you. Dundee changes his mind. JJ shrugs. Says he wants to see if we can wing things old school. So, what do you say? Doing an unscripted promo in a live show is a huge deal, something that usually only veterans are trusted to do. But the pressure is tremendous and there's no margin for error. For reference, wrestling traditionally has used unscripted promos, but for a number of years in the WWE, promos have always been completely scripted, that's not the norm in wrestling. That's unusual. Usually promos would have a basic outline, but would be mostly improvised. Now, I think the only people who really get to do any improvisation are probably the occasional time when The Rock comes back or whatever. Most of the time, everything is just scripted. I think this time, we said last time we wanted to win. Let's not hog everything. It seems to be maybe taken the wrong way by the girls in the back. Let's tell JJ that she can handle the promo. Hog the mic? No? Why did we get an achievement for hogging the mic? JJ looks dubious. You're sure? I thought you might want to. You shake your head. I'll save my promo debut for another day. The four of you go look up as the music of the former champs begin to play. You wish each other luck, then go through the curtain. Okay then. JJ smiles at you. I hope it don't make us look bad. You and JJ watch the proceedings in the ring through one of the wall monitors. After about 5 minutes, JJ nods to herself. They should be cueing us right about... A wolf's howl blasts through the speakers. Oh! One of the production staff hands JJ a microphone. Phone. God, that never gets old. JJ grins. Ready, partner? You listen to JJ's theme played through the stadium. You don't have any theme music of your own in the Gua yet. The higher-ups decided to go with JJ's theme for your tag team. Yeah, it's fine for right now. We're not doing singles matches. We're just doing a tag team. It's fine. The fans like it. As always, the crowd cheers as you and JJ descend the ramp, but it's more muted than you're used to. While some fans have clear allegiances or are cheering for both teams, others aren't quite sure who to cheer for. In general, it's harder to get people invested in a match where there are no clear good guys or bad guys. That's why the promo exchange tonight is important, and also quite tricky. Both teams need to create the impression that they want the tag title so badly that they'll do everything in their power to get a title shot, even if that means murder. As you and JJ enter the ring, you send her a sideways glance. She can speak with passion and wit, but you've only ever seen her verbally spar with heels who are either comedically inept or extremely vile. That is what gives faces a lot of ammunition. You're not sure what she plans to do tonight while still saying honorable. JJ decides to play it safe. It's less a promo about why the Derby Rollers don't deserve a title match against the Bloody Angels, and more about how Havoc and Chaos deserve a chance at the belt. She builds up the opponents you defeated along the way and makes it seem like each of them could have been a contender. It's a speech that doesn't ruffle any feathers and is well delivered, but at the same time, doesn't do much to create an issue between your team and the Derby Rollers. Okay, so this is a very vanilla face promo. Perhaps it's for the best. The last thing you want to do is alienate two wrestlers who actually treat you like a peer. We have to interrupt this love fest, draws a familiar voice. But the fact that the four of you think you have a say and become women's tag team champions is irritating. Oh, what's this? Someone's coming into the ring, the Jumbotron blinks, and suddenly Angel Raffaella and Angel CLTL appear on the screen, both bearing their respective championship belts on the shoulders, and both holding glasses of red wine in their hands. Ah yes, wine and wrestling, they go together. The crowd greets the appearance of the Bloody Angels with loud cheering and a chorus of boos. Raffaella flips back her long, flaming red hair in stark contrast to her paper pale skin and smiles. The four of you are adorable, really. And by that, we mean you should die. CLTL's hair is a shock of white, and she wears red contact lenses to give her an eerie appearance. Raffaella smiles. Isn't it great to have a partner who really understands you? She swirls the wine in her glass. While few wrestlers nowadays set out to intentionally make their opponents bleed, the frequency with which the Bloody Angels do has become part of their gimmick. How about this, CLT? Says Raffaella. What do I mean when I say that I could care less who we face at the Wild Hunt? CLT cocks her head to one side like a puppet with its head about to fall off. What you mean is that the Derby Rollers must face Havoc and Chaos tonight in a tables match. The Angel pauses as the crowd breaks into cheering. And we'll face the winners on the Lord's Day. Close, said Raffaella, but not quite. We'll beat the winners on the Lord's Day. CLTL bows her head. Forgive me, Raffaella? Maybe later. As for the rest of you, Raffaella finishes her glass of wine, intentionally letting some dribble past her lip, creating a long red line down to her chin. She smiles into the camera. Look to God for mercy, not from us. The four of you in the ring exchange handshakes before retreating to your respective corners. You want to start things off, or should I? Okay, so two very vanilla-faced teams fighting for the opportunity to face the bloodthirsty heels, who are also apparently angels. Alright, we'll tell JJ to go ahead. The match begins slowly, as if each team is engaged in a feeling out process. You and JJ rotate in and out a few times, as do your opponents, and neither team seems to be willing to engage in the heel tactic of double teaming. So far, the novelty of the conflict is enough to keep the attention of the crowd, but that won't last for long. JJ tags you in, then whispers in your ear, they seem to be playing things low-key. Want to break out the moves, show them up a bit? Being aggressive may make you stand out during the match, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself if it fits the story you want to tell. Let's save the aggressive moves for the end. You put off the instant gratification in favor of more measured storytelling. The four of you gradually work your way from professional, honorable heroines to frustrated women who can't understand why their opponents won't stay down, and finally to angry, desperate fighters who see the chance at their title slipping away. Yeah, see, it's ring psychology. It's not just about doing moves in the ring and being a spot fest. It's about storytelling in the ring. It's what separates the good from the great. By the closing minutes of the match, both teams are battering each other with steel chairs, double-teaming with impunity, and putting hands on a referee who just won't stay away from the tables. The crowd is on their feet by the time you start breaking out your finishers, scoring a few near misses with the tables. And a frenzy of dueling chants fills the air. We have the crowd in the palms of our hands. Finally, however, JJ is one of the opponents on top of a table near the center of the ring. There are tables and parts of tables strewn everywhere throughout and around the ring, a testament to the number of them that both teams have used as battering rams. But to win a tables match, you need to send one of your opponents completely through a table. You position yourself atop the top turnbuckle, ready to send JJ's vanquished counterpart through the table. JJ staggers toward you, and she's such a good actor that you can't tell if she's faking it, or if she's really in pain, or if you're, for most wrestlers, just kind of always in pain. So, I mean, what's the difference? She reaches towards you, and you reach towards her, your arms both completely extended but not quite touching, driving the crowd mad with suspense, just edging the crowd. Finally, with a last surge of strength, JJ slaps your hand. then pushes you off the turnbuckle and through a table set up behind your corner. Oh no! For a moment, you can't see or hear anything. You feel yourself begin to hyperventilate, as you wonder if you had a bad fall, as if you've broken your back or your skull, but then the crowd noise erupts again, an arena-wide intake of breath, and you realize they've been shocked into silence. Now the noise is back, a mixture of cheers and boos and excited conversation. You pick yourself out of the wreckage of the table and see a confused referee trying to consult with the former champions. Then you hear Dundee's voice in your ear. Cunoesse, get back here, now! He doesn't have to tell you twice, because you can see JJ just about to disappear behind the curtain. Well, we can tear up the ringside area, then charge towards the back, curse out loud, and charge towards the backstage area. Let's tear it up. Tearing it up seems like something we do. You scream invectives into the air as you tear up the ringside area. You sweep the monitors off the announce table, slam chairs into the barricade, even take the ring bell and slam it into the ring post. You don't care you're on live, prime time, nationwide television. You run up the ramp and burst through the curtains with a growl bubbling up inside your throat. But no sooner have the curtains parted that you feel one pair of strong hands grab each of your arms. You look up to see you're being held by Crusher Asbury on one side and Terry Catastrophe on the other. That sounds like a Suda51 name. Two of the strongest wrestlers on the roster. Don't even think about it, kid, says Crusher. What? You hiss. The hell is going on here? What's going on? Says Forrest Dundee. Is that we have to resolve this unfortunate situation as quickly and cleanly as possible to prevent it from affecting the entire organization. You look at the people arrayed in front of you in blinking confusion. You can understand why Dundee is here, and it seems JJ hasn't had time to flee the scene, but why are Paul Prototype and Alex Dobbs here as well? You can see a small crowd and other wrestlers and production staff gathering too. You want to resolve this? It's simple enough. Yeah, I mean, presumably, either we blame JJ for it, or we blame Dundee for probably telling JJ to do it. So, probably, that's why JJ did it. So, let's have them, let's demand that he explain why he changed the finish of the match. This had to have come from the top somehow, some sort of storyline or angle, or... Why? Says Dundee, while JJ remains silent. You have no one to blame for this other than yourself. JJ did what she needed to do, what I suggested she do, to make sure there's some distance between her and you once this all hits the media. What? You're confused. Didn't the world just see what happened on live television? Why is everyone looking so grim-faced? That's when you see one other person as part of the group, almost invisible behind Ball Prototype, Dr. Lawler. The doctor steps forward. Your heart sinks. Your test returned positive for the presence of RVDX, controlled substance, which is on a list of drugs that the GWA employees are prohibited from taking on pain of termination. You seem to have lost feeling in your fingers. You're shaking and you don't know why. That's impossible, you say. Your throat suddenly dry. I've never. Save it, says Dundee, holding up a hand. You think I haven't heard every possible excuse in the business? We can't afford another drug controversy. We need to prove we have zero tolerance for these things. It's just one test, you say. Let me take another, and I said, save it. Dundee rubs his temples. Look, we found the pills in your bag. What? What? This isn't the 90s, kid. We had the luxury of still being able to keep things quiet until we're sure, but no. You can bet some mook has the scoop on this up on his blog right now, and every second we waste makes the GWA look more complicit. This can't be happening. Look at the faces of the men and women nearby, searching in vain for an ally. If Gianna was here, she could tell them. She could vouch for you after all. She's the one who's with you almost 24/7, the one who... ... You pause. No way. Not Gianna. That's when you see it, the ghost of a smile on JJ's face. Son of a... Well, I mean, we can't just allow ourselves to be led away. We have to make ourselves known and accuse JJ. You point a finger at JJ. You take a step towards her, but instantly Terry and Crusher pull you back. You did this. You and Gianna, you framed me. I haven't spoken to Gianna since she became your riding buddy. We're not really friends anymore. JJ somehow managed to look sad. I guess neither are we, Shadow. Here I thought I knew you, partner. You let out an inarticulate shout and lunged towards her. Game over, I guess. But by now, arena security has arrived, and with the help of Crusher and Terry, you're physically hauled towards the arena's backstage exit, past dozens of curious eyes and gossiping lips. Just before the backstage doors open, before you're tossed out literally into the cold, you hear Dundee's mechanical voice echo down the corridor. In case it wasn't clear enough, Shadow, you're fired! The door slams shut with an ominous clang. This goes to Chapter 8. Future Endeavors. Will Shadow the Cunoesse kick some brain on the dark side of the moon? We don't know. But it looks like she's been framed for drug use, and we can only assume that JJ did it, because I guess JJ blames us for what happened on that day. You know, that day. But unfortunately, we have no way of proving it, and it seems that our GWA career has come to an abrupt end. And if everyone knows that we were fired for the drugs, then would any of the smaller promotions take us back? I mean, depends how small. Like, there are some really small ones that really don't care. So, like, maybe we'll have to just be performing in high school gyms from now on, trying to just get whatever scraps we can. Maybe that's just how it's going to turn out for Shadow. Well, I mean, she came from poverty, and maybe that's where she's returning to. But maybe not. Maybe she'll be able to kick some brain. Maybe. I guess we'll find out as we continue on with Slammed into Chapter 8.